right, so let me go ahead and get started. May peace and power elevation be to all of you. For those of you that are watching, this your girl Tiffany coming through live in faith right here on YouTube. So I want to get started tonight with the subject matter um, dealing with the police brutality that took place in Atlanta. So make sure you guys, for those of you that are watching, make sure that you share and subscribe, and also hit the notification bell when I come on. So I'm currently doing videos on YouTube as of right now because I'm temporarily blocked on Facebook, of course. But yes, Melvin is on the horizon. Yes. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and hit on that notification bell. So tonight we're going to talk about a topic that's very sensitive, extremely sensitive, only because we have been dealing with this a lot lately. So the topic is dealing with police brutality and the Atlanta incident with the police officer killing an African American male, 27 years old, at a Wendy's restaurant drive-through. So the way the story is told, that the brother name was Rashard Brooks, and he was sleeping inside the parking lot at the the gas station at the Wendy's restaurant. He was under intoxication, and by him being intoxicated, he was sleeping, and someone called the police because he was holding up traffic in the drive-through. So when the police came, he got out the car. They did the DUI test on him. He didn't pass it, and as you can see in the video, what I'm about to play, he he was resisting arrest, and because he resisted arrest, he took the taser and he was running with the taser, and he could be seen showing, pointing the taser at the police, and the cops tasering him while he was running. But at the same time, they end up pointing a gun and they shot him. So I have my views and perspective on this, and many people have views and perspective. What's up, knowledge? A town, you already know. But anyways, I have my views and perspective, and so many people have their views. Some people feel like it was justifiable. Then there are those who argue that it was unjustifiable. So what I'm about to do is, before I even get into my point of view about this, I'm going to play the video, and I want you guys to watch it very carefully, because this is the one where you get a clear picture of seeing what was going on. So let me go ahead and play this video. All right. I'm gonna have to put myself on mute because I don't want the extra noise to go on in the background.
Yo, yo, what's up, my man? Hey, what's my man? Hey, hey, man, you're parked in the middle of the drive-through line here. Hey, sir. You right? You're parked. You're sitting in the drive-through line here. My man, you let me go back to sleep. You gotta move your car. You went back to sleep. You went back to sleep. Hey, my man. Hey, you good, man? You see me? You were passed out before. I want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, well, I'm absolutely great.
Why'd you fall asleep in the?
Waiting on my sister.
What's up?
Waiting on my sister.
Okay, how much did you drink tonight? Not much? How much is not much?
About a drink, about 12 today.
All right. Hey, you have your license on you real quick?
Yep.
All right. Hey, how's it going? So, found passed out in the parking lot. He's sitting here.
So he was in the drive-thru?
Yeah, he's on. Car's on.
You recall that?
I don't.
You don't recall that? You don't recall just minutes ago where you were passed out behind the wheel in the drive-thru? You don't at all?
Absolutely, I don't.
complete blur. Yes. All right, just take a deep breath in. Put your mouth over the mouthpiece. Blow as hard as you can until I tell you to stop. Blow, 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 blow. Stop. Very good. I think you've had too much to drink to be driving. Put your hands behind your back, boy. Here, put your hands behind your back. Hey, stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. You're going to get tased. You're going to get tased. Stop.
Mr. Wrong.
Stop.
Come on, man.
Stop. You're going to get tased.
Mr. Wrong.
Hands off the taser. Hands off the taser. Stop fighting. Hands off the taser. Stop fighting. 63.
All right, so as you guys saw the video, what took place between Rashad Brooks and the police officer. So as I mentioned before, he was at the Wendy's drive-through. He was asleep. So he was under intoxication, and what he was trying to do, he was trying to sleep that alcohol out of him, but someone complained because he was holding up the line, and they called the cops, and the cops came. They, as y'all can see, they did a DUI on him. He didn't pass the DUI. They put him in handcuffs. Well, they asked him how much he had to drink, and he didn't remember the amount. And so after they did the test on him, they put him in handcuffs, but he resisted arrest. And peace, Triz, how you doing? And then, he took off running. So as he was taking off running, he took the taser and he aimed it at them. So now, many people have their arguments on both sides. Some people would look at why it was justifiable and why they agree with the law enforcement. Because let me show you what's going to happen, right? The law enforcement is going to use that as a justification to defend themselves because that's how they were trained. So they were saying that because he was intoxicated, he resisted arrest. That's 2. He took the weapon, which is a taser gun, because the taser gun at this point is considered as a weapon. Then he turned around, he aimed the taser at them. So in this case, he's considered as armed and dangerous. Because he's under intoxication, he acted as the aggressor. So that's the argument. So he was armed and dangerous, and the police officer felt like their life was in danger by somebody who was under intoxication. So they felt that they couldn't do any other choice but to take him out. That would be the argument they would use. And that's why people justified it, because of that particular reason. Now, while some people say it's unjustifiable, it's because, yeah, the man was drunk and he was sleeping at the parking lot, but at the same time, they felt like the police could have done other alternatives besides retrieving the gun and pulling the trigger. Some of us feel like the police should have had more backup instead of, if they know that this person is intoxicated, especially if they're under intoxication, it would be wise to have more backup. And then some people make an argument, okay, if it's justifiable to shoot somebody, then what about all the other ethnic groups out there? What about all the other ethnic groups that do the same thing? That's very all time that retaliates, that done did far more worse. Peace hero that done did far more worse than what this man did. So where I stand on my position, again, I understand that this is going to be the argument that is going to be used in court. Now, I don't agree with what the police did because I feel like this. The first time that you got a call that somebody is asleep at the drive-through, right? And they're drunk as hell, that's when you should have got backup. That's when you should have got more police officers there. Because then two of y'all cannot handle somebody that's that intoxicated. Because 9 times out of 10, when you under that state and you're dealing with a situation where you got a law enforcement, you're gonna act aggressive because you're intoxicated. You're not in your normal function. You know what I'm saying? Your brain's not functioning at its normal level, whatever. So at this point, it would be wise. It would have been very wise of the police officers to go ahead and get back up. Because if they had more backups, then it would have been a lot easier to deal with that situation. Nobody would have got killed. And also, again, going back to other ethnic group, my thing is where there was a guy in California. He had to be Hispanic. In the middle of the highway, he has a shootout with the police. A shootout with the police. And guess what happened? They shot back at him, but he walked away alive. He walked away alive. But this man ended up dead. Now, I'm not saying what he did was right. No, because, 9 times out of 10, it's not very wise to sleep at a restaurant drive-through. It's not very wise because, people going to come in and order stuff. But then I understand why he was doing it, because he was trying to wear off that alcohol in his system. And then you have to understand why people are so enraged by this, because we are targeted. Whether we are armed or unarmed as a people, we are more than likely going to be targeted by law enforcement. We're going to be the number one target. We're going to be automatically looked as a threat and treated as a threat. That's that. We're going to automatically be looked as a threat and treated as a threat. So whether you are armed or unarmed, whether you comply with the rules or not, in that officer's mind, for some reason, the police officers, they automatically have this view about you as a Black person, and they thinking that you're going to do something, you're going to act aggressively, you're going to retaliate. So they going off of their suspicions about you. And that's what people have to understand. So yeah, you can make the argument that, he should never resist arrest. He should never took the taser. He should never ran off. He should never did this. Yes, okay, we can say that. We can say that he should never did that. But does that same rule apply to everyone else? Does that same rule apply to everybody else? Why does it seem like that rule only applies to Black people? Why does it seem like our people are the only ones that's quick to antagonize us, as if we're the only ones that's disobeying the law? I done heard so many Black folks say this. Well, not so many, but some of them say stuff like this, where if you don't retaliate against the police, if you don't retaliate against the police and you do what you're supposed to, then you don't have to worry about getting shot. You don't have to worry about getting killed. See, the reason why you getting killed because y'all don't sit up there and comply with the police. Like, that's the dumbest shit that you ever say out your own damn mouth, for real. Knowing how this system is based off of racism, you're dealing with systematic racism. So for you to even look somebody in the eye and say that, oh, because you didn't comply with the police, that's why your ass got shot. Like, are you serious? Like, that's not always the case. You gotta realize that you at a higher risk all the time, whether you comply or not. You're gonna be targeted automatically. Just like that man in Florida, it was about 2 or 3 years ago in Miami, Florida. He was working for some type of mental institution or something. He was dealing with people who had special needs. And he was outside in the parking lot. He laying on the ground. He telling the police, don't shoot me, don't shoot me. They got a gun aiming at him. And he has his hands up. He got his hands up. Don't shoot me. So what that goes to tell you. And see, we already still dealing with protests to 3 other African Americans that were killed this year alone. And now you got another one that's taking place. How you think people gonna react? You know, people ain't trying to hear that, oh, well, it was justifiable and he shouldn't did this, he shouldn't did that. They're not thinking about that at this point. At this point, what they're thinking about is another black man is gone. We getting killed at a higher rate. What are we going to do about this? How do we react to stuff like this? What is it that we going to do? But I'll tell you one thing they did, and I'm finna show the video. I'll tell you one thing they did, and yeah, they real upset about this, honey. Oh, they so upset about this. I'm about to show this video. Give me a moment. Yeah, people upset about this. All right, so I'm gonna play this video and I'm gonna put myself on mute.
The firefighter. Also heard from Governor Kemp, and before I even talk about what he had to say, we're showing you the Wendy's now. The fire has broken through the roof of that building. You see the blaze there. We talked to an Atlanta fire sergeant a while ago of the firefighters that they were having trouble getting close to the building. And so now we've seen the fire move from the drive-through window in the dining area and now has broken through the roof there. So we'll continue sharing those images with you. But tonight we've also heard from Governor Brian Kemp. And in a tweet this afternoon, about 3 hours ago, he wrote, at the Atlanta Police Department's request, the GBI launched an investigation into the conduct of the 2 APD officers that led to the death of Rayshard Brooks. I am confident GBI Director Vic Rams and his team will follow the facts to ensure justice is served. And then he continued in another tweet saying, as always, we stand ready to provide resources and support to protect Georgians who are peacefully protesting. And for several hours this afternoon, these protests were very peaceful, Jeff.
So the questions certainly will be, you know, the curfew was stopped a week ago, Saturday night, exactly a week ago. There will be questions about that if there is an added concern about that. Certainly, the law enforcement tact, a state of emergency had been declared by Governor Kemp, and it too had been terminated. Where, you know, Faith, they began with a couple of hundred of Georgia National Guardsmen, and it escalated to 1,500 by the time we had gotten to the middle of the week following the destruction.
And at some point this evening, we saw tear gas was deployed among the protesters, but nothing like we saw in the early hours of the protest that started 2 weeks ago at Centennial Olympic Park. Nothing to that magnitude. But again, we're watching as this fire burns the location where this officer-involved shooting happened yesterday at 10:30 p.m.
If there is an upside on this, if you're familiar with this area at all, the proximity of that Wendy's to other buildings, there is some distance. So the fear of this blaze perhaps spreading to other buildings is probably not realistic, at least from the vantage point if you're familiar with that area, because the building that stands alone off of University Avenue over there. There are a number of other buildings and businesses, but they're not right on top of that Wendy's. And tonight, that's a good thing, as the Wendy's is going up, and it's going up in flames. Again, from Sky Tracker over there, you can see the Wendy's ablaze now. The vegetation fires to the right and left, but it began in the drive-through window approximately about 25 minutes ago, and it has now grown. It would appear that Atlanta Fire will not be going in there to put this out, that there had initially been some concern, as Sergeant Cortez Stafford from Atlanta Fire had told us, that if they could get their trucks in there safely with an escort of Atlanta police, they would hope to be able to put it out. But at this point, we don't see any sign that Atlanta Fire will be going in there, at least anytime soon. But perhaps that changes. All right, our time right now is 10:43. Traffic beginning to move a little bit on the freeway. We will continue to have updates with you and for you coming up in the minutes ahead. Stay with us on this Saturday night in Atlanta.
So you heard that, right? You heard that, right? The fire department wasn't coming anytime soon. So, see, this is the outcome that takes place. What did you expect to happen? After what took place with that brother, there was going to be an immediate protest. Hold on. Give me a second. Okay. Anyways, yes. What did you guys think was going to happen? There was going to be an immediate protest. There was going to be a serious protest. And that protest took place a day after. You're right. Exactly, Melvin. You absolutely correct. They do. They do got insurance. But see, here's what people say. See, why y'all burn down Wendy's? Y'all don't need to leave. Wendy ain't had nothing to do with this. Wendy ain't had nothing to do with this. Why you burn down Wendy's? Leave Wendy's alone. Now, for those who don't know, that University Avenue is located close to downtown Atlanta area, right? It's in the hood, but it's more closer to downtown. Okay. So what the incident that took place, it was right there in the hood. But then here come people make an argument. Oh, see, there you go. Burn down your own community. And you're going to burn down Wendy? Why you burn down Wendy? Wendy ain't getting that to nobody. Why you going to mess with Wendy's? But see, it's not about that. It ain't the Wendy itself, is because that's where the crime scene took place. And people did that out of anger. And also on the news, they put up a $10,000 bond. And I mean, not $10,000 bond, but they put out what is it called? I can't think of the technical term right now, but they put up a $10,000 offering if someone can expose who the person that started the fire. Yeah. So the city put up $10,000 if someone tells who the individual that started the fire. Now, according to the news, it was supposedly be a Caucasian girl that did it. She was supposed to be the one that started the fire, right? That's what they said. But see, it goes back to, everybody want to talk about peaceful protests. You can't have, how you gonna have a peaceful protest if you screaming no justice, no peace? You can't expect for your protest to be peaceful. That's just the bottom line. Because everybody is not going to follow or going to comply with the peaceful protest ideology. So if you expecting for your protest to be peaceful, then don't scream no justice, no peace. That defeats the purpose. Do not scream no justice, no peace if you expect for it to be peaceful, because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be peaceful. It would not be peaceful. So yeah, and my heart goes out to this brother and his family. He has a daughter who would never get a chance to see her father again because he just celebrated his daughter's birthday. He would never get a chance to see her again. People say we'll move strategically. People say that all the time. And yes, that's very logical. But one thing we must learn as a people, that you can't control other people's emotions. You can't control how a person feels. Because just because you have your emotions and you keep it under control, and the rest of the people that's around you can maintain their emotion, the other people over here, they're not going to comply with that. Do you think people are going to really try to hear you when you say, you know what, let's make this a peaceful protest? You guys, don't you riot. Don't you do this. Don't you do that. You think people are going to really comply with that? No. No, they not. No, that's not going to work. Then you got these celebrities that get on here. As a matter of fact, let me play a video real quick. Let me play a video with Killer Mike and T.I.
Earlier tonight, along with Mayor Keisha Lance Bottom, she was very strategic before Killer Mike. Both of these
is the place where
and a lot of these celebrities used here multiple hangout and looting downtown.
Atlanta is the place where
All right. Here it goes.
people like me, Killer Mike, other artists, creatives, other people who come from our culture, and other people who rise up out of the wreckage of the struggle that we all experience just by being born a certain color in this country. But Atlanta is a place where we can set an example of prosperity, and we've done that for generations. People like Dr. King, Maynard Jackson, Ambassador Young have paved the way for us. When everything else goes away, when you don't get treated right in New York, when you don't get treated right in LA, when you can't get treated right in Detroit, when you don't get treated right in St. Louis, when you don't get treated right in Alabama, Atlanta has been here for us. This city don't deserve it. However, I understand that a lot of others do. But we can't do this here. This is Wakanda. It's sacred. It must be protected.
I didn't want to come, and I don't want to be here. I'm the son of an Atlanta City police officer. My cousin is an Atlanta City police officer, and my other cousin, East Point police officer. And I got a lot of love and respect for police officers, down to the original 8 police officers in Atlanta that even after becoming police had to dress in a YMCA because white officers didn't want to get dressed. And here we are 80 years later. I watched a white officer assassinate a black man. And I know that tore your heart out. And I know it's crippling. And I have nothing positive to say in this moment because I don't want to be here. But I'm responsible to be here because it wasn't just Dr. King and people dressed nicely who marched and protested to progress this city and so many other cities. It was people like my grandmother, people like my aunts and uncles who were members of SCLC and NAACP, and in particular, Reverend James Orange, Mrs. Alice Johnson, and Reverend Love, who we just lost last year. So I'm duty bound to be here to simply say that it is your duty not to burn your own house down for anger with an enemy. It is your duty to fortify your own house so that you may be a house of refuge in times of organization. And now is the time to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. It is time to beat up prosecutors you don't like at the voting booth. It is time to hold mayoral offices accountable, chiefs and deputy chiefs. Atlanta is not perfect, but we're a lot better than we ever were, and we're a lot better than cities are. I'm mad as hell. I woke up wanting to see the world burn down yesterday because I'm tired of seeing black men die. He casually put his knee on a human being's neck for 9 minutes as he died like a zebra in the clutch of a lion's jaw. And we watch it like murder porn over and over again. So that's why children are burning to the ground. They don't know what else to do. And it is the responsibility of us to make this better right now. We don't want to see one officer charged. We want to see 4 officers prosecuted and sentenced. We don't want to see targets burning. We want to see the system that sets up for systemic racism burnt to the ground. And as I sit here in Georgia, home of Stevens, Georgia, former vice president of the Confederacy, white man said that law, fundamental law, stated that whites were naturally the superior race, and the Confederacy was built on a cornerstone. It's called a cornerstone speech. Look it up. The cornerstone speech that blacks would always be subordinate. That officer believed that speech because he killed that man like an animal. In this city, officers have done horrendous things and they have been prosecuted. This city's cut different. In this city, you can find over 50 restaurants owned by black women. I didn't say minority, and I didn't say women of color. So after you burn down your own home, what do you have left but char and ash.
All right, you guys. My screen don't went out. But anyways, that's right. Yeah, murder porn. Right. That's very interesting, Melvin. I never heard that way either. But you know what? There's some things I want to critique about both T.I. and Killer Mike. I say that I have more respect for Killer Mike. I mean, because at least he shows a little understanding. Um, but as for T.I., he talking about, well, the city ain't done nothing wrong to us. Atlanta should be left alone, basically. As far as T.I. goes, I really don't want to hear what he has to say, because I feel like this. You the same person that got this trap house museum, right? And you call it our culture. You call it our culture. How is that our culture? Because last time I checked, culture brings some form of productivity. It brings productivity to our community. What has trapping brought to our community? What type of productivity did it have bring to our people? Nothing. It brought absolutely nothing but a bunch of destruction. A bunch of destruction. So if you want to talk about how Atlanta being destroyed, Atlanta was already destroyed, okay? Atlanta was destroyed by poverty. Atlanta was destroyed by drug infestation. Atlanta is destroyed by homelessness. See, that's the part of Atlanta that they don't want to ever tell y'all about. The homelessness that's going on. People downtown, over there at the CNN building, Centennial Park, all over that area, laying around underneath the bridge. That's the part of Atlanta that they don't want to talk about. The foreclosures, the bankruptcies, the gentrification, and a bunch of poor housing, such as Four Seasons, where there's people living in subsidized housing and they live with trash piled up with roaches and rats and mold everywhere. And Killer Mike is correct. Atlanta ain't perfect. Atlanta is not perfect at all. So let's not sit here and act like everything about Atlanta was so perfect. Like as if Atlanta had no destruction. And let's talk about Morris Brown University. That school been closed for 12 years or 13 years. Nobody knows when that school gonna ever open back up. So there's a lot of things that's going on here in Atlanta. Way before the riot took place. That went unheard. That was not even addressed. But my thing, we cannot sit here and have celebrities do all the talking for us and think that, everything is all right, like as if they are the leaders for us, especially T.I. T.I. act like he's the leader of Atlanta, the leader of Black people out here. No, you're not. No, you're not. T.I. is not Atlanta. Killer Mike is not Atlanta. Atlanta is greater than what they're telling you. Atlanta is much more to Atlanta than what you're getting. So, yeah, my whole point is going back to their statement, as far as they always want to use Dr. King this, Dr. King that. Well, since we own Dr. King and what Dr. King done said, let's see what Dr. King had to say about riots.
Are you over 25? Have a clean driving record? No.
Hold on. Sorry about that, you guys. These
Minutes, rewind.
Now, what I'm saying is this. I would like for all of us to believe in nonviolence, but I'm here to say tonight that if every Negro in the United States turns against nonviolence, I'm going to stand up as a lone voice and say this is the wrong way.
Minutes, rewind.
Now, what I'm saying is this. I would like for all of us to believe in nonviolence, but I'm here to say tonight that if every Negro in the United States turns against nonviolence, I'm going to stand up as a lone voice and say this is the wrong way.
I will never change in my basic idea that nonviolence is the most potent weapon available to the Negro in his struggle for freedom and justice. I think for the Negro to turn to violence would be both impractical and immoral.
There is an increasingly vocal minority who disagreed totally with your tactics, Dr. King.
There's no doubt about that. I will agree that there is a group in the Negro community advocating violence now. I happen to feel that this group represents a numerical minority. Surveys have revealed this. The vast majority of Negroes still feel that the best way to deal with the dilemma that we face in this country is through nonviolent resistance. And I don't think this vocal group will be able to make a real dent in the Negro community in terms of swaying 22 million Negroes to this particular point of view. And I contend that the cry of black power is at bottom a reaction to the reluctance of white power to make the kind of changes necessary to make justice a reality for the Negro. I think we've got to see that a riot is the language of the unheard. And what is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the economic plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years.
How many summers like this one do you imagine that we can expect?
Well, I would say this, we don't have long. The mood of the Negro community now is one of urgency, one of saying that we aren't going to wait, that we've got to have our freedom. We've waited too long. So that I would say that every summer we are going to have this kind of vigorous protest. My hope is that it will be nonviolent. I would hope that we can avoid riots because riots are self-defeating and socially destructive. I would hope that we can avoid riots, but that we will be as militant and as determined next summer and through the winter as we have been this summer. And I think the answer about how long it will take will depend on the federal government, on the city halls of our various cities, and on white America to a large extent. This is where we are at this point, and I think white America will determine how long it will be and which way we go in the future.
Even Senator Jacob Javits asked the question recently. He said that he was a slum resident, but he and some of his fellow Jews were able to make it out of the ghetto on the Lower East Side. The same thing is true with lots of Irish, Italians. And he asked the question why the Negro finds it so difficult to make his way up out of the ghetto.
Well, number one, no other racial group has been a slave on American soil. It's nice to say other people were down and they got up. They were not slaves on American soil. The other thing is that the Negro has had high visibility. And because of the prejudices existing in this country, his color has been against him. It's been against him, and they've used this to keep him from moving up. In the final analysis, when you say to a man that you are in this position because of your race or because of your color, you say to that man that he can never get out of it. Other racial groups have been able maybe to change the accent or change the names, but the Negro can't.
Now, Dr. King said it himself. When they was asking him how it was going to be for the next couple of summers, he said, hopefully it will be nonviolent. But he even knew that it was not a guarantee. He knew that. He knows how people's emotions are. By him practicing nonviolence, he know there was going to be people that's not with all that. He know people that ain't going to sit up there saying, we shall overcome. That was Dr. King. And he said, you know what? It depends on white America. And you know what also he mentioned? About when the guy asked him about the Jews, and the Jews asked, why can't the Negro, because that's the term they was using at the time, why could the Negro not get himself out the ghetto? Because the Negro was brought here as a slave, as slaves on the ship. That's why he's been discriminated against the most. That's why. So anytime somebody want to bring that argument about what Dr. King did and what Dr. King said, bring that video up. Show them that video. Show them that video exactly what Dr. King said. Because Dr. King himself knew that nonviolent wasn't going to always work. He told you that riots is the voices of the unheard. Riots are the voices of the unheard. That's what Dr. King said. But see, people forget about this part. People forget about that. And even when there was peaceful protest, guess what? People was getting gunned down and killed like dogs, like animals. Got water hose sprayed. Dogs chasing them down, biting them every places. And he ended up dying. After he gave his last speech, I've been to the mountaintops. He died at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee. This man lost his life. But he was nonviolent. And many of our ancestors that marched with him, whether it was at Selma, Alabama, whether it was for the civil rights, they lost their lives. And some of them was paralyzed, hospitalized. So I don't want to hear about Dr. King done said this, Dr. King done said that. Yeah, Dr. King did many great works, but Dr. King also understood the other side of things too. He did. And many other Black leaders out there, they understood the other side of things. But anyways, I posted the link in the chat. If anybody wants to come in and give their thoughts and their commentary, you can do so. Otherwise, I would digress from this video. So I'm going to give you guys a few moments if you want to come in and you want to have a dialogue or share your thoughts. If not, like I said, I would digress from this video. So anybody want to share their thoughts? Let's see who's on here. Melvin, King, Knowledge Born, anybody? Let me try to find out what's going on with this camera. Anybody want to share their thoughts? So I'm gonna wait. So I posted the link in the chat, and if anybody want to come in, you can make yourself available. Thank you, brother. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead in this video. Thank you guys for watching. May peace and power elevation be to you guys. Thank you for tuning in on my YouTube channel. Make sure you guys share this video and subscribe, and also hit the notification bell whenever I come on here. You guys will already know. Thank you for those of you that was listening in, watching the video with me. I hope you guys enjoy it. Until next time, take it easy. Please be safe out here in these streets. And remember, knowledge is essential. Knowledge is necessary. Knowledge is what brings the power in your mind. Other than that, peace be upon you. Until next time, deuces.